money.
Tell me, I know your type. Yeah, sure. I know your type. You're good at the foreplay, but how will you be after we consummate the monologue? That's what I'm interested in. You sound in a good mood tonight. Thank you for coming. Well, well, well. Get a watering can, will you? When does that thing start to bloom, or does it? I mean,
I'm just featuring the russet tones of fall.
You sound good tonight, and it's always nice on a Friday because last night's audience, I think, was influenced by Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas. It's not that they didn't like the material, it's just that they felt it was wrong to give an opinion about it. So here we are tonight. You know, no, come on, no. We may need it later. Save it. Audiences are always great in September, you know? There's something in the air. Nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide. Now, because it is autumn, you mentioned, the social season has truly started in Southern California, in Los Angeles. Dress is much more formal. Out here now, in the social season, people actually turn their baseball caps around to the front and lace up their Nikes. That's the formal attire. Good night. I know what it is. I know what it is. You're afraid because it is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. You see, Mayor Bradley's in a little bit of trouble. He proclaimed today, and he's getting some flack for some of the organizations, like the National Organization. He declared today Freddy Krueger Day in Los Angeles. Now, isn't that the guy who kills people?
Yeah.
Next week, Charles Manson, Thursday. Give me a break. Anyway, we're going to talk about, are you superstitious about anything?
A little bit, yes.
Like what?
Well, going under a ladder.
You still, really?
Yeah, putting shoes on a table.
Proposing,
How about you?
Proposing in parades?
How about you?
No, I don't have, we'll talk about that later. Californians, for example, a little strange out here, have some very weird superstitions. They consider it bad luck if they see a black cat with a tan line. But the Californians are health conscious. They think it's bad luck to spill salt substitute. Anyway, I met somebody that I think is one of the great athletes of all time. It's on our show now. Mr. Pete Rose is here tonight.
Yeah.
Good looking guy. Charlie Hustle. He's had his problems, but you got to give him. He is still Charlie Hustle, and he got some good news today. Supercuts downgraded his hairdo from critical to stable. Much better. Okay. Well, let's see. I suppose you heard the news. Virginia Governor Douglas Wilder announced that he's going to run for president today. Why not? I think Friday the 13th is an appropriate day for a Democrat to announce his campaign, isn't it? I mean, look. So far the Democrats have Paul Tsongas, right? Jerry Brown, the governor, former governor, says he may run. Now, Douglas Wilder announced today that he's going to run for president. I think Governor Wilder is pretty much of a realist. His campaign slogan is, sure, I'll lose, but what the hell? See, that's just not, doesn't seem like a good campaign slogan. But I think Wilder's strategy is to concede the early caucuses and then lose big in the later primaries. Well, let's see, some other news. See what they said in the Soviet Union? They plan to pull the Soviet troops out of Cuba in order to receive more economic aid from the United States. And I think they're really serious about severing ties with Cuba because Gorbachev said today he wasn't even going to watch the reruns anymore of I Love Lucy. Desi Arnaz, you see, was Cuban. Okay, all right, no. See, that's what I meant by saving it. When there's a weak one, help me. Now, have you ever seen so many changes in your life in the Soviet Union in the last month? Leningrad, as you probably know, has changed its name back to St. Petersburg. And today, Azerbaijan changed its name to Hal. Who knew? Now, some of the most fascinating television this week are the investigation or the interrogation of the nominee for the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. And he faced his third day of pretty tough questioning. Many senators are angry at Thomas for avoiding the issues. But isn't that how they got their jobs? You think about it? Yeah, okay. I'll tell you why. Clarence Thomas is sailing through the hearings in pretty good shape because he was pretty smart. He bought Judge Souter's new book, 1001 Vague Answers to Tough Questions. Judge Souter's, you know, he didn't say much either. He's now on the Supreme Court. Judge Bork. How many of you remember Judge Bork? Today, Bork came out and criticized Thomas for being too vague. Now, Bork, as you remember, is very direct during his hearings, and that's why he now has his current job as permanent guest judge on People's Court. Look, how would you like to have to sit there and be interrogated by those people? Thomas is very skillful. He has been they couldn't even pin him down to comment on the choice of Regis and Kathy Lee to MC the Miss America pageant tomorrow night. They asked him about that. He said, I'm not going to prejudge it till I see the show. I'm talking to Regis and Kathy Lee tomorrow. Time for me to fire up the VCR. I don't want to miss that. Folks, it's Americana tomorrow night, the Miss America pageant. How can you not watch that? I've got one of those, what do you call those programming things? VCR Plus.
Right.
Where you just type in a code.
Yeah.
You know what the code is for the pageant?
No.
362436. You Now, they held the preliminary talent contest earlier this week. Did you see who the winner was? It was a baton twirler. But she was disqualified when they found out that her mother hired a hitman to rub out the other 49 contestants. Did you read that one contestant, poor girl, Miss Tennessee, keeled over the other night? Apparently, she was on a starvation diet. To get in shape for the contest, she went down from 134 pounds to 106 pounds in about 2 weeks. Yeah, to get ready for this contest, for God's sakes. And apparently, she was in the shower and she keeled over. And it was a very close call because by the time the paramedics got there, she'd almost stopped playing the accordion. Very close. A little legal news in the paper today. California prosecutors, according to the paper this morning, have filed a lawsuit against Life Alert. Now, I'm making no statements about Life Alert, but you know that company is famous for who was it, Mrs. Fletcher?
Yeah.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Right.
They filed a suit claiming that they had misleading sales gimmicks. In fact, the old lady in the commercials was supposed to testify against them, but no one has picked her off the floor yet. You're familiar with our chief of police in Los Angeles, Daryl Gates? He said today he may change his mind and not step down in the spring after all. Can you do that? Leno went, oh, God. Well, I'm gearing up, folks, I don't know about you, for the new fall TV season. Have you been sampling any of the shows? You know what's in this? Reality shows. Things like what they got, 9/11, where they show actual rescues and so forth. NBC has a pretty exciting show come up. It's about a clerk at the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's called Cover Your Left Eye. And another one is Supermarket Patrol, in which shoppers are caught in the act of leaving their grocery carts near their parking space rather than wheeling them back to the little corral. Okay, those are just a couple things. One other little item, a famous birthday today, born in 1857, I'll bet you don't know who. William S. Hershey. That's right, Milton. I said Milton Hershey. Well, you got to remember the chocolate bar was already chocolate was around.
Yeah.
But he invented the chocolate bar.
Oh.
Before that, chocolate just came in a big wad. And people go and say, give me a wad of chocolate. You know, so he came up with the bar. Okay. Oh, me. Okay, tonight, along with Mr. Pete Rose, Mr. Jim Garner is with us tonight. And a comedian making his very first appearance on the show, and luckily we got an audience like you tonight. Ron Schock is here tonight. Okay, stay where you are. We'll be right back.